So, my name is Chastity Andrea Bailey, and I wanted to do like a little story time talking about why I moved back to Atlanta. Because if you go back to a OVO like a few years ago, I think I made a story about why I moved to Atlanta. Then I did a video again, another video later about why I was moving back to Memphis. But I just started making content again. I realized I never made another video about why I moved back to Atlanta. So I think I should kind of tie it together. So in 2000, let's see, 17, I think August 2017, I had gotten an internship with a magazine. And I was living in Memphis at the time. I had just graduated in May of 2017 from the University of Memphis with a bachelor's in business administration with a concentration in marketing management. So my goal was to try to get my foot in the door and work with whoever I could to get some type of exposure or connections. And my real main goal was to get an apartment. I just wanted an apartment. I didn't want nothing else but to get an apartment in Atlanta, honey, okay? So I moved to Atlanta with nowhere to live and no job, just an unpaid internship. And so my friend, her mom is a flight attendant with Delta, and she had an apartment in Buckhead. It was a 1 bedroom, and she already had lived there with her mom. So I was going to be sleeping on an air mattress on the floor. And at that time, I was 21, I believe. I was 21. And I was just like, cool, whatever. When you're young, you just kind of, you're more with the shits. And you're more flexible with your life because you don't really have anything going for yourself unless you do have something going for yourself. And I did. So I did that, and then long story short, that didn't work out. So, and during that period of time, I realized that I did not want to work with or for celebrities. Because my internship was with a magazine, so I was writing articles, interviewing people, whatever the case may be. And then I had met somebody through that who does PR for celebrities. And so I started interning for him or whatever. And I just was like, this is a lot. And I didn't feel like it was worth the time. It was a lot of hurry up and wait. It was a lot of running around, scattered, trying to like appease celebrities and their needs. And I was just like, I don't care this much about another person and their needs and wants. I care about my needs and wants and what I need and what I like, but for my whole career to be concerned with somebody else's career, nope. And I didn't realize at that point, but that was a little flag that I should have looked at to let me know I just don't like being under people. I don't like authority over me, and I don't like, kind of being like a runner. Like, I don't like that. So I just kind of fell off from that, and I didn't want that. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna need to get a job. And by this point, I was living with somebody else in Decatur, and I still didn't have my own place. I still didn't have my own room. I was sleeping in somebody else's room. Nobody was sleeping in there with me, but I was still sleeping in somebody else's room. And I was just like, shout out to both of them. Shout out to people that let me live with them, because I live by myself now, and the thought of letting somebody live with me in a 1 bedroom, or the thought of letting somebody just live with me, period, I don't know. Like, I love my personal space now. I love it. And it could be due to the fact that I went so long in my early 20s without personal space that I was just like, that now I'm just kind of like, I don't have a lot of patience for it. Which I don't know if that's selfish or what, I don't know. But anywho, I was like, okay, I need to get a job. So I started job hunting, and I ended up getting some sort of temp agency to pick me up, and they got me a job. And when I say I was trying so hard to get a freaking apartment, I was like, I'm gonna work 3 jobs. Because I had got a little job at Marshall's part-time. And then I had got on with somebody else, working with a nonprofit, being like an assistant. And then I had me another job. I was like, yeah, I'm finna have 3 jobs. And I remember my mama told me, like, you finna be so tired. And I was like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Yes, I was. Yes, I was. It was to the point because I had to be up like early for the 9 to 5 job or whatever. And I'm not a morning person. I'm not a morning person. Like, all my life, I've had to fight. I'm not a morning person. So it was like abnormally hard for me to adapt to being up that early. And it wasn't even like dangerously early. It was just like regular job early, like 8 a.m. You have to be there at 8 a.m. or something like that. And during orientation, I would be falling asleep. I would get there on time, sleep in the car until it was time to go in, and be falling asleep, honey, while they were trying to do orientation. And I had got cool with a dude or whatever there, and he was like, girl, you be falling asleep. And I was like, horrified. I was horrified. And I was like, for real? Even though I knew I was dozing off, but like, it was pretty bad. Like, it was. But he was like, you be falling asleep. And I was like, And he was like, yes, huh? And I was like, so I remember the recruiter calling me and being like, yeah, they decided to tell you not to come back. They didn't feel like you were interested. So long story short, they saw that I was falling asleep, and they were like, we can't, yeah, we're good on her. So that really devastated me because I was falling asleep because I was exhausted because I was trying to work 3 jobs so that I could get an apartment. So I was so devastated because more than anything, it felt like failure. Like I had failed. I had failed something. But I remember when the recruiter told me, she was like, yeah, they feel like you're not interested. They told you not to come back. I was just like, okay. And she was like, okay. And then I never talked to her again. She didn't send me any more jobs. I didn't ask her for any more jobs because I figured, why would she give me another job and I'm falling asleep? So I was just like, okay. And she was like, okay. And that was it. But in reality, I cried. I remember I came back to the house with the person I was living with, and I was like, I got fired. And I was like crying. So she was like, it's okay. It's okay. But that was like really, I just felt so embarrassed. Like I felt so embarrassed. From there, I just, I did a few modeling things, and I still was doing the assistant thing, and I was still doing the part-time job at Marshall's. I started feeling sad because I was just like, what am I doing? Meanwhile, all of my friends had jobs. We were like 22, I think 21, 22, and they all had jobs. And I remember even trying to get hired at one of their jobs, and I couldn't get a job to save my life. I could not get a job. I remember I did an interview for a job, and I was still laying down in the bed doing the interview, like on the phone, laying down, sleepy. I was not asleep. I was sleepy. but I was still like, I don't even know if I even sounded like I even cared on the phone. I was just like, yeah, whatever I was doing, I was not even sitting straight up, fully engaging in this phone interview. They never called me back. So I feel like it goes to show when something just is, and I'm not a lazy person. Like, I do have lazy tendencies, I'll say that, but I'm not a lazy person. I'm a natural born hustler though. So I think when it comes to certain things, it's just not a good fit for me. I was like, what is wrong with me? Something has to be wrong, because why is it that all of my friends could get a job after graduating college and I can't? I'm not a dummy. I knew I wasn't a dummy. I knew I wasn't lazy, but something was off and I couldn't put my finger on it. So I started getting depressed because I just felt like a failure. I didn't have any money. I had to call my mom for $20. If you got to call your mama for $20, it's getting bad. Like, it's getting bad. So I was like, okay, my parents were sending me money every week to give to the person I was staying with. So even that I didn't even have the money to do that. So I was just sitting there. I used to just lay in the bed and watch Breakfast Club, watch YouTube, because I just didn't have the energy to do anything else. Meanwhile, though, in between all of this, keep in mind now, in between all of this, I was partying. I was turning up. I was not getting no job, but I was in them streets. This was back when Atlanta had club life. Atlanta don't really have club life no more, but this was in the Gold Room and Compound days. So like, it was up. Now, I was having a ball now. Broke, but having a ball. So I must not have been that sad. But I was sad enough to where I had to kind of just reflect. But I was watching a YouTube video of the Breakfast Club, and a man was on there, and it didn't even the video didn't even have as many views as their other interviews did. So I was just like, I don't know. I just clicked it. I just so happened to click it. And it was a man doing an interview about real estate. And I was just so perplexed yet intrigued at the same time. Like, what is he talking about? What is he talking about? I couldn't understand a word he was saying because all of this jargon he was using. I remember he kept saying specialized knowledge. It requires specialized knowledge. And I was like, specialized knowledge? What is he talking about? And so he started talking about wholesaling. And so I was just like, what is this man talking about? Kept watching the video, and I was intrigued enough to look him up. And, long story short, I decided I'm going to do real estate. That's what I'm going to do. And in the back of my mind, I had always thought about real estate, but not enough to really pursue. I was like, yeah, one day I'm gonna do real estate. And then it was like the thought was gone. After I thought about it, it was gone. Once I decided to really dive into this real estate that this man was talking about, I said, okay, so what I need is a lot of money. I need a lot of money at once. But I don't know another way to get a whole lot of money at once legally other than stripping. And I was like, I'm too scared to strip. And then illegally selling drugs, I was like, I'm too scared to sell drugs. No, when it came to stripping, I was like, I'm not thick enough to strip, and I'm scared. But with drugs, I was like, I'm not cut out to sell drugs, so I know I'm not gonna sell drugs. And then I was like, real estate. I was like, so I might as well kind of see what's popping with the real estate. So I had to make a really hard decision for myself, and that decision was to move back home. It was such a gut-wrenching decision, and I was like ashamed and embarrassed, and I felt like a failure again. I hate feeling like a failure. I've noticed that about myself. So, but it was to that point. As the kids say nowadays, it gets to a point, and it had gotten to that point well before I made the decision. And So, because even moving back home, I still didn't have my own room. I would have been sleeping on a couch if I moved home. And so it's bad if you going back home to sleep on the couch. You're like, all right. So I decided to move back home and start doing real estate. And that I did. So I think it was 2000, July 2000. Let's see. It had to be July 2018. Had to be. Something like that. And so I moved back. And I immediately, like the day I moved back, I started doing real estate that day. The same day. Because I drove back from Atlanta to Memphis. I drove back. I remember earlier that day, my friend at the time got her boobs done. And I took her to get her boobs done. And then I took her home after her boob job appointment. And then I got on the road and drove back to Memphis. Literally same day. Same day. And I stayed in Memphis, stacked my money, started doing real estate for like a year and a half. So July 2018 all the way to February 2020, I was in Memphis. So I moved back to Atlanta in February 2020 after sleeping on the couch that whole time. And I moved back because I feel like I wanted another round. I wanted my go. I needed my one-on-one with Atlanta because I didn't get a fair one-on-one. I got jumped the first time I tried to do it. I got jumped. So I was like, okay, I got my money up. And so what I did was, I'm so funny. I rode the mega bus. First, I tried to get a townhouse in East Point. And I had my friend do the money order drop off for me. And something had happened. I do not remember what happened with that townhouse, but I didn't get it. I did not get it. And it was just a lot. It was a lot. I had to get my friend gas money to go drop the money order. It was just a hot mess. But I guess it happened the way it was supposed to happen because I did not get that townhouse, honey. And so I forgot how much the rent was at that point. But I ended up riding the megabus from Memphis to Atlanta. Yes, that's how broke. At that point, I wasn't broke anymore. I had saved about $30,000. So I wasn't broke anymore, but I still kind of like, I still had that broke mindset a little bit. So instead of driving, and then maybe my car just couldn't take it anymore because I had a 2008 Saturn, and at this point it was 2020, okay? So, or late 2019. I had rode the megabus from Memphis to Atlanta to go tour an apartment. And it was kind of like it was an apartment that I had just kind of pushed to the side because I was like, something very particular. I was like, oh, I don't like this, whatever. And I had went through so many apartments online and reading the reviews. And I would see one, if I saw one review I didn't like, I was like, okay, I'm not staying here. And so I literally said to myself, I said, I'm not reading no more reviews. I'm just going to look at the overall rating of the apartment. And if it's a good overall rating, that's it. I'm not reading one review. So this particular apartment I had passed up on, and it circled back. I circled back and I was like, you know what? Let me check this apartment out. It's got overall rating. I'm not reading the reviews on it. And the rent was in my budget. My budget was $1,200 of them things, okay? $1,200 a month. And I had did 1,200 times 12. And I said, boom. I got that in my account. So I know I can pay my rent for at least a year. And so, and then I did a little contingency for utilities. I said utilities, groceries, wham. I said, I can afford this. So once I did the tour, I said, okay, period. And they kind of pissed me off though, because the apartment that they showed me was not the apartment that I got. And that's how I learned my lesson. Because the apartment that they toured me with was stainless steel appliances and wood floors. The apartment that I got was carpet, laminate, and white appliances. That's false advertisement. Now that I look back, that is false as advertisement. But I thank God that I didn't let that discourage me and freak me out. Plus, right after I got to Atlanta, COVID happened. It was so much that I could have freaked out about, and I never freaked out about it. I was just like, okay. So I actually stayed in that apartment 4 years before I moved into this apartment, March 2024, literally 4 years later. And I've learned so much. I've had so many good times. I've had some bad times, but I've had some good times too. So I say that to say I moved back to start over again and give it a go again. And I'm glad that I did, because it's made me a better person. I feel like it's made me more well-rounded. And I've met so many people. I've made relationships here. And professionally, I did well. I did well here. So I feel like it's not too far from home. It's a 5-hour drive that I don't even do anymore. I don't ride the mega bus, and I don't drive anymore. I fly every time. For the past 4 years, I've have caught a flight home there and back, except for when I went and got my truck. December 2020, I went home for Christmas. I flew there. I canceled my flight back, and I had bought me a 2021 Mercedes Benz GLC 300 truck that I still have. I call her Mimi. Mimi is short for Mercedes, but it's M-I-M-I and not M-E-M-E, because M-E-M-E ain't that cute. So it's M-I-M-I. So I bought Mimi December 2020, and it was a Christmas gift for me to me. Now, I did not pay cash for it, but I did a lease, and then at the end of my lease, I just started financing my truck. So I started financing my truck, I think October of this year. So I did a 4-year lease. And so it's just like, I say that to say life don't always go according to plan. And it hurts when it doesn't. Like, my feelings were so hurt when it did not go according to plan the first time. But you want to know what? I also learned that maybe you're just not ready the first time. Even though you swear in your heart that you're ready and in your mind that's what you want, it's okay if you still want that goal to be accomplished, but maybe it just wasn't your turn. Maybe it just wasn't your time. And that is hard to face and hard to acknowledge. But I've learned when things are strangely hard, like every time you turn around, it's like challenge after challenge after challenge, and you feel like you're trying to beat the challenge, but you're not beating the challenge. It could be God just being like, I said no. Or I said not right now. Or I said try again later. Or I said get your mind right first. Or I said get your money up first. Whatever the case may be, that decision is final. You can try to fight God all you want. You could try to put up a fight, but God really does have the final say so. So I ended up trying it again. I feel like I did much better this time around. And it also goes to show what you think you want real bad may not even be something you want down the road. And that could be why it's not working out. So I really wanted that townhouse in East Point. But now that I look back, I wouldn't live in that townhouse. It's not like I was in the hood or whatever, because I actually like East Point because I do real estate, so I know the areas. I actually like East Point, and they're doing a lot of new construction out there. But safety-wise and just, practicality-wise, I live more in an area that's my speed versus living in East Point. And that townhouse had like probably a backyard or a back entry point, and that's just not the safest thing in my opinion for me. I prefer something more safe. At that stage in my life that I was in, I definitely needed something more safe. So I ended up moving into that apartment, and that apartment was gated. We never had any issues in that apartment. I never had anybody steal any packages from me. I never had anybody break into my car. I never had nothing. And I also don't live on the first level. I never live on the first level. I need to be second level and up. But I don't like living too high. Like, because my old apartment didn't have an elevator. And I lived on the second floor. So I had to go up one flight of stairs. But now where I live on the first level, but I don't have a balcony. And I don't have to we have an elevator, but I don't even have to use it. And the garage is gated, but we have parking where it's not gated, but the doors are like so secure. Nobody can just walk in here. So, yeah. I really hope this story time helps somebody who may be thinking about moving to Atlanta, or you live in Atlanta and you got to go back home and start over and try again. And sometimes in life that happens. It happens. And it's not fun. It's not cute. I always say the grind ain't cute. Ain't nothing cute about the grind. Nobody's going to tell you that. Nobody's going to tell you that, yeah, I had to sleep on an air mattress in somebody else's room on a couch from 2017 to 2019, basically 2020. So 2017, August 2017 to February 2020, I did not have a room to myself. I did not have my own place. I did not have my own personal space. I did not have my own nothing. I did not have no money. And I think maybe that scarred me, to be honest. Like, if we're gonna keep it a bean, being broke for like 3 years, yikes. It's so many things I would do before I go broke again. I'm not even gonna talk about it. Nothing illegal, and nothing prostitution wise, but catch me at the club behind the bar. Catch me in the club as a bottle girl. Don't play with me. But I'm a hustler and I do well, okay? So now I am a licensed realtor in Tennessee, Mississippi, and Georgia, so 3 states. I've sold properties on the market, off the market. I did my KPIs for 2023. In 2023, I sold over $3.3 million in real estate. I didn't even know that's what I did until I went back and did my KPIs. So I'm gonna do my KPIs for 2024. But I feel like hopefully this helps somebody. And I say just keep going. Things may happen, but you gotta push through, because don't get caught up in your current situation. Know that it can change. It can change for the better. I don't know how long it's gonna take, but it's up to you and God. You gotta do the work, but you gotta also listen for God's cues and see, okay, maybe this isn't the thing. And know when it's time to move on, know when it's time to hang it up, know when it's time to try again, and know when it's time to keep going. So follow me on social media, Chastity_Andrea. If you need a realtor, I'm licensed in Tennessee. I service the Memphis areas, Mississippi, the surrounding areas of Memphis, so South Haven, Horn Lake, Olive Branch, Byhalia, and Georgia, the Atlanta and surrounding areas and counties.